Kevin Owens uses social media for good. What a novel idea. Wrestle Dream has turned into a nightmare for fans of Bryan Danielson. And Dave LaGreca finds time to poke the final boss in the midst of transitioning into Sally Jesse Raphael. How much heat could I get if I could get heat? Well, I could get as much heat as I'm going to get a lot of heat for that.
The Wrestling Hour starts now. And Dave, that was totally on Josh. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Wrestling Hour right here on the MyFandom YouTube channel, and of course, across all platforms.
Of course.
Ah, man, Josh is in full gear. We're not talking about the next AEW pay-per-view. We're talking about the fact that Josh, he's scratching the surface again and trying to bring out the old Josh Chernoff, and I kind of liked the new Josh Chernoff. So now you're going to start to piss me off. Anyway, I'm being joined by Josh Chernoff. I'm Dave Sturcio. I hope everybody's doing well out there. The Wrestling Hour picking up steam here, including the steam that, Josh Chernoff's about to have coming out of his ears at some point.
Hey, no, I'm fine. Here's the thing. A lot of people go on these types of shows and choose to be some sort of a character, right? They'll throw on their pink robe or whatever it is, and they become a character. And that's what I was doing. For the first few episodes of this season, I was playing a character. I was playing this idea of what the real Josh Chernoff should be. And I said, you know what? I don't need to be a character. I like being me. And everybody else seemed to like me in the first season. So the thing that they liked about me was that they didn't particularly like me because I was saying whatever I wanted to say, which, by the way, was almost always true. Don't fact check me, but it was almost always true. So I decided that I'm going to put on one of my $75,000 jackets and that I had custom made. Kevin Matthews sent me to the guy. And I am going to be a little bit more of myself because, Dave, we are here early and ad-free on ad-free shows. We are here for the rest of the world who's too cheap on MyFandom YouTube, which, by the way, we also appreciate that because that's how we get paid. But we are here on the Wrestling Hour, and I am excited to talk about everything that we talked about in there. And let me say something about Dave LaGreca, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Big fan of Dave LaGreca. Great guy. We've always gotten along very well. Have no problem. I like to poke a little bit of fun at the fact that he wears his wife's robe and that a bunch of people decided that was somehow cool and they should also wear his robe to like live events and stuff. So, I mean, that's fine. I wear custom ties and jackets and nobody shows up wearing my stuff, but that's fine. So my issue with Dave LaGreca is not the fact that he has a striking resemblance to the first woman of daytime television talk shows.
Look, it's
no, I'm sorry. I know you're team Oprah, but I'm just saying.
No, what I'm saying is Dave LaGreca, I love the guy. Another fellow heartache-driven Cowboys fan. He was my broadcasting teacher at the Connecticut School of Broadcasting back in 2006-7.
That explains a lot.
Well, it does explain a lot. It explains my drive and explains my passion, just like he puts in every episode of Busted Open. So for you to just take shots at my boy Dave LaGreca,
how am I taking shots? I'm not taking shots. Dave LaGreca's taking shots.
Jesse Raphael.
Dave, no, I felt like he was transitioning his style into that.
Come on.
Hey, there was a side-by-side photo. You tell me. I believe as someone once said, tell me when I'm telling lies or some crap. I don't know. I don't watch the product. But, so, okay.
Man, this is taking a twist.
Okay.
But listen, the one thing I will say about LaGreca is that he has established himself as what you just said. He is a personality on the radio of sports entertainment, professional wrestling, however you want to dial it up. But what I will say about LaGreca is it's a thing. It's when he went out on his rant originally, when The Rock tried to insert himself into the main event at WrestleMania and the world just imploded, I felt like that was a Good move for the brand, right? For the brand of Busted Open, but also kind of like a, man, what are you doing? And then like it simmered, right? Because Cody got his way. He got into the main event. He won the title. Everybody's happy. We were there, right? We're all like, oh, this is great. This is a great scene. All is well, ends well. Then The Rock shows up at the end of Bad Blood. And to my, I want to say pleasure, because I'm like, I love The Rock. It's The Rock, man. Like, he is the cornerstone of one of the cornerstones of professional wrestling as a whole.
Biggest star in the history of professional wrestling.
Right. And he's the definition of a success story outside of wrestling, right? But again, know your roots, right? The wrestling started all this for him. So for Dave LaGreca to go back at him again because he showed up, it's not like The Rock. All right, here's my take. I don't think The Rock is sitting at the board meeting as a member of the board and one of the bosses, right? I don't think he's sitting there like, hey, guys, you know what this show is lacking? It's lacking a little Rock, right? Like, he's not, I don't think he's self-pitching himself into these roles. I just think it makes sense. Everybody knows where they're going with this whole bloodline thing. Everybody feels that, come Survivor Series, it's all going to come to a head in some kind of civil war, right? So the fact that he shows up and then he says, basically, he does the 1, 2, 3 cutthroat. I don't even know what the fuck that meant. But what I will say is it's got people talking. So Dave LaGreca has now something to talk about. But I just feel like LaGreca has turned it into complaining. And I just don't know why you would complain about somebody enhancing the product that's my take.
Yeah. And I think it's because his gimmick is a Cody crybaby, right? Like that's become his gimmick to this. No, you don't. I think, look, Dave LaGreca clearly has an issue with The Rock putting himself into here. And it's a, how can I put this in a nice way? It's a mark mentality, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not, we're all marks. We are all marks for this business, right? Otherwise, when you get excited over the idea of a bloodline civil war, as I am, as you are, we're marking out for it. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And that's the point. And another term for a mark would just be the person who's getting entertained by it, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. The issue that I've always had this issue with it, is number one, it's not your story. And I don't mean in the Cody Rhodes standpoint, but it's not your story. It's not Dave LaGreca's story. It's not my story. It's a story being created by WWE employed writers. That's it. The same way when you go and you go, oh, I don't like how this TV show's going or something. Or you read a book and, oh, I hated how this book ended. Well, okay, but that's the story. Right. That's it. You're watching a form of entertainment being presented to you.
And the problem is with social media now and the reach that Busted Open has, because they do. Let's be honest. Dave LaGreca has been featured in a lot of documentaries. Like he's been a voice. So Busted Open has that platform. I missed the call. Yeah, well,
I was taking a shower.
My next line was, in which I hope the Wrestling Hour one day has that kind of, hey, let's see what Josh and Dave have to say, not just Dave LaGreca. But again, he carved out a nice little niche for himself in the world of professional wrestling. He's living the dream. However, like you just said, any TV show, any book, any movie, any episode of Monday Night Raw or AEW Dynamite, or if Rampage still exists, right? I'm saying that when it's over and you didn't like it, that's it. Like you can, like, oh, I just tried a slice of pizza for the first time. I didn't really like it. How can I change the slice of pizza?
Did you say you tried a slice of pizza or tried to slice a pizza?
Tried to eat a slice of. What I'm saying is, Josh,
I'm just look. Facts matter. Okay,
you're right. You're right. We're in election season. Facts absolutely matter. But what I will say, like I said, you can't change it. You can either like it or don't like it, or change the channel, or never watch the product again, or never read that.
But here's the beauty of professional wrestling. It's 52 weeks out of the year.
Right.
It's several shows a week. So just because you didn't like one thing, or you don't like this one storyline, well, all right, well, buckle up, get through it. It's going to be bumpy for you, LaGreca. But when it's all said and done, you'll move on to the next thing.
Well, that's the issue I'm saying, is that, like, I don't, like, you're right. It's Triple H and it's the creative writers of the WWE that are captivating this audience week in and week out, to the point where they can say, hey, F the networks, we're going to Netflix. That's how big they are. So it's not like they're trying to grasp at straws and see what's going on. And again, kudos to guys like AEW and companies like AEW who lock in their deal with whoever, I forget who is, Discovery or I don't fucking know. But what I will say, there's no discredit.
Where I'm sorry, you trained under who as a journalist?
He wasn't a journalist. I was a broadcast major.
Okay, I apologize then. I apologize.
Sidebar story, and the story will never get old, is that LaGreca was my teacher. And for the final exam, you had to partner up with somebody in the sports final exam. You had to partner up with somebody, my guy, Phil Devine, who moved out to Vegas to cover the UFC after the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Shout out to Phil.
Nice.
But what I will say is we tried to tell LaGreca, hey, man, we're going to do our final on professional wrestling. And he said, come on, man. Nobody's going to. You can't do that. You got to do something. Nobody's going to listen to a professional wrestling show 5 days a week. And I was like, wow. Wait a minute. And lo and behold, I was the one that committed. Are you sure about that? You know what I mean? Like that meme, like, you sure about that? But anyway.
So to be clear, just to be completely clear, Dave Sturcio created Busted Open.
Yes, pretty much. I'm taking responsibility for that. 110%.
Hey, congratulations on all of its success.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And all the Busted Nation and everybody and guys like Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer, they should really send me a text or a DM or something, thanking me for the planting of the seed. But what I will say to kind of put a bow on what LaGreca is doing right now is that if you don't like it, my 2 words to you, not like DX 2 words, but my 2 words to you are tough shit. Tough shit. Like, you don't like it, that's fine. But I do not want another storyline created and altered by the fan.
No, I want to see where are we going at this point. And I don't think the fans are going at this point. I think they worked themselves into a situation last time where they had the possibility of The Rock and Roman that people have been talking about for years, of this dream, like, oh my God, this could really happen. Who could dethrone Roman Reigns? It could be The Rock. Like, it's so tied in, the family, the history, everything. And then they also had backed themselves in the corner by organically creating this buzz around Cody and his story.
Right. To
the point where they really were kind of stuck with, like, crap, we've got 2 incredible stories. It's a shame Roman Reigns didn't have 2 belts, right, that he could have defended. There's always a way around it that people don't think about. Don't even get me started on the Montreal Screwjob and how that was a bunch of crap and never had to happen. There were about 45 other options, but we'll talk about that We'll talk about that on a Survivor Series anniversary show.
Shit, man, now you got me fired up on that one because you know me, I'm a Shawn Michaels guy. So wait a minute. No,
all right, you want to dig in for a minute? We can dig in for a minute.
Let's not save that. Hold on.
All right.
That's a bold take. The story as it's written, we'll get back to, we'll finish LaGreca in a minute because I got one more final kabosh and that's it.
Okay.
But like the final decision was that they did not want Brett to walk out of Survivor Series with the WWF Championship. Is it not that's the thing, right? He wants to drop it on Raw or give it back and relinquish it and all this other shit. No, man. No, and just like Triple H said, you don't want to do business? Fuck you. We'll do business for you.
Right.
That the way it happened sucked. The way it happened for Shawn Michaels' career and legacy sucked. The fact that he lied.
He's doing okay.
He's doing fine now, right? So, but the way he lied right to his face sucked, right? But like, how else would you have done that, Josh? How are you going to write the story for the end of that one since Brett wouldn't play ball?
So it begins with a couple of different things. Number one, sit them both down together. From what I understand, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'm sure there's going to be some idiot online who's going to tell me I'm wrong, but from what I understand, they would sometimes get together and they'd all be okay, and then they'd be like at each other's throat again or whatever. The day of, or not even the day of, a couple of days before, whatever it was, we all know stories of Vince McMahon will fly to wherever or have a meeting or do whatever. He should have, bottom line, said, we are sitting in this room, Vince, Shawn, Brett, you want Briscoe in there for protection or whatever. And I don't mean that to laugh because Briscoe could still at this age kick the shit out of me.
And maybe Earl.
Earl Hebner, all this stuff, right? Sit down and pretty much say, here's the situation. Brett, you can't leave with it. The title's got to go over to Sean. Sean, you pissed Brett off. I get it. You guys have issues with each other. You've been friends for years beforehand. I know you've had your fights. I know you have your issues. Guys, we have to work this out. I don't want this turning into some crap. I don't want this turning into Brett showing up like Medusa. I don't want this to turn into, whatever, I don't want this to be a thing where we're forced to figure out some crappy way. It's bad for the fans. It's bad for the business. It's bad, Brett, for your exit. Sean, it's bad for you to stay here. It's where Vince McMahon, in my opinion, and hindsight's 2020, I wasn't in the moment. I wasn't, and I get all of that, right? But this is one option, is where Vince McMahon, all of a sudden we're to believe that this is not a guy who knows how to, everything you've ever heard of Vince McMahon is, man, I was all fired up. I went into his office to tell him how it was going to be, and I walked out and didn't get any of what I wanted, but somehow felt better about the situation. Like, that's Vince. That's what he was able to do. So my question is, why couldn't he do that with Brett and Sean? Why couldn't he have nipped this in the bud a long time
because
earlier?
I don't think Bret Hart was willing to play ball at all. It was his way or no way. And again, your hand is forced, man. Like, what are you supposed to do?
But the issue that Brett had was where he said, Sean, I want you to know I have no problem dropping this title to you. I know we've had our issues. I have no problem. And Sean's response, according to Brett, which Brett has said many times and in front of Sean, has said this. And Sean's response was, I don't really remember, but it sounds like something I would have said, right? So, but Sean's response to him was, I appreciate that. But if roles were reversed, I wouldn't do the same for you. And that's where Brett said, F you, I'm not dropping this to you. No way, no how.
Now, in Sean's defense, on that regard, Brett was the one leaving. So why, like, if Sean said, if the roles were reversed, like, if you're leaving the company, you should not have any say as to how this ends.
Right, unless you signed a contract that says you have say of how you leave. I mean, that's the thing. He had a contract. I mean, sorry. Here's the thing.
Did it have creative control in it? Like,
yes. He had creative control for the last 30 days of his contract. I'm well-versed in the Bret Hart story. He had creative control in how it ended. So he didn't like any of it, and they kept giving him ideas, and he didn't like it. But here's the other issue with it that I have. The match, they got it in the ring. They did all of that.
Mm-hmm.
There have been a couple of different versions of the story, right? There's the version that they were worried he would show up as champion on Nitro the next night.
Sure.
So
which there's examples as to why they were worried about that. It wasn't like it was one of those things like,
right.
Oh, I don't know. Medusa did it. The NWO did it. The Outsiders, they all just showed up, right?
Well,
that's how it works.
No. Okay. So no. So here's the thing. Medusa, she had the belt. They let her contract lapse, and she jumped ship and still had the belt because they weren't using her and they weren't doing anything with the women's title, and they didn't even realize that they no longer were employing a person who had their title, right? So, it is what it is. Was it good of her to do that? Nah, it probably wasn't. But at the same time, whatever. She's now employed.
Right. Hall of Fame.
So it doesn't matter. You can say whatever you want and everything's fine.
Right.
Hall and Nash, they knew they were going. Hall and Nash finished up. That was the whole curtain call. They finished up their.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is,
you can't be upset just because we knew Hall and Nash were going to jump to WCW because they left. They did business on the way out and they left, but we didn't realize how good the storyline would be. Like, you know what I mean? You can't fault WCW for that.
Fine.
Then there's the where was it? Okay, you had Mike Awesome did something similar or whatever, but he didn't bring the belt with him, but he showed up and all that. Here's the answer to that. If the issue, and I'll jump back on this in a second, but if the issue was Bret Hart showing up as WWE champion with the belt and dropping it in a trash can or whatever the hell they were going to do, it's plain and simple. Bret, here's the deal. You want to go over in a schmaz tonight? That's fine. You want to relinquish the title tomorrow night? fine. But between tonight and tomorrow night, we're keeping the championship with us. Because if you don't show up to Raw tomorrow night, we're opening Raw, or we're opening on our website or whatever. I think they had a website. They at least had an AOL at the time. We're opening up with the news that Bret Hart has been stripped of the championship.
Now,
he doesn't have a physical belt. He's no longer champion. They got out ahead of it. That's that. Now, I think that they've used that. We didn't want him showing up as champion with the belt. I think that that's just kind of been said, whereas the intent behind it is we didn't want him showing up as our champion who hadn't lost the championship. And that I get. But I know you and I have worked enough shows where we have booked enough shows. The first ever wrestling showcase, okay, as an example, we get to... trying to think which match it was. I know this happened at Ric Flair's last match too. It was Jacob Fatu and whoever, maybe it wasn't Fatu. Whatever it was someone from MLW and someone from NWA wrestling each other. And we had the same issue with our show as well, with the tournament concept, and it was big names from everywhere. And we ended up having to navigate that of how does someone win without beating the person from another company and all that. And there are ways around it. And we got around it. And Conrad got around it for Ric Flair's last match. There are ways around it. And to me, the better way would have been to say to Bret, you're leaving the company. We hope one day you're going to come back, but you're leaving for our competition. We can't have you give a farewell to everybody, but I have to go somewhere else because then everyone follows you, Bret. And we wish you the best. We really want you to have a wonderful career, go make a lot of money, but we got to take care of home. So here's the thing, Bret. We'll do the schmaz, and then we're going to strip you of the championship. We're going to say, due to the interference by the Hart Foundation and DX and everything, it's being thrown out. Bret Hart's contract has expired. Bret Hart has been stripped of the championship, and it's now going into a tournament, and we will crown a new champion, whatever, right? To me, that would have been a better way to do things. And I could go on and on with just other ways to do it, but the number one is sit these people down and say, we are grown men. We are professionals. This is a business. Bret, you have say on your way out, but here's the deal. If you can't come up with something that's going to work for the company, then I'm going to tell you what I tell every other creative person who brings me a storyline. No, come up with something better. So that's it. I mean, this never should. The other thing that drives me insane was the amount of time. And this is where I blame WWE solely for this. Bret offered to drop the title to numerous other people at numerous other times. It was the stubborn nature of Vince McMahon, to my understanding, that said, no, we're going to do it at Survivor Series, and it's going to be to Shawn Michaels.
In Montreal.
And then Bret dug in, and then Vince had to dug in. Hacksaw. And then, Vince dug in, and we ended up with the Montreal screw job in the way that it was, which, kind of screwed everything up, because I think in a million other ways, things could have just been so much better.
Now,
yeah.
To put a bow on that and spin it right back to what we were talking about, when people left Montreal that night, there's some famous shots of people just in tears and the flags over them sitting on the stairs, right? There's so many like what just happened moments, right? And again, this is why social media is a good thing, and that kind of segues maybe into our next topic. But social media gives these people a voice, and these people I'm talking about all the way full circle, Dave LaGreca.
You're saying this is a good thing?
Well, no. What I'm saying is, no, it's not always a good thing. Trust me when I tell you, because me and you personally have dealt with just the trolls of trolls. We've talked about it last week. But what I will say is, I don't like the idea that a fan or a media personality can sway the decisions of a creative juggernaut known as the WWE.
Right.
So for LaGreca to poke the bear again, or the final boss, right? You're just doing that for your own gain right now. There's no way that the WWE is gonna be like, oh my God, LaGreca again, bro. Now we can't do the Rock thing again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this time they're gonna be like, you know what, dude, cry all you want, wear your robe all you want. I don't give a shit. We're not changing this. The Rock is gonna be inserted here. Deal with it or don't. Go watch AEW. Go watch fucking anybody else, MLW or NWA. Watch whatever you want, but we're not changing. We're not changing course. Is what I'm saying. Back then with the WWE, you didn't have a voice. What was it? Forums, maybe? You know, like there was ways you could be like, what the fuck just happened?
Like,
I don't understand.
What's his name on Off the Record in Canada?
Right. There's ways you could get your voice out there, but it wasn't like there wasn't enough firepower behind it for them to be like, did we make the wrong move here? We should probably change it back and give Brett a brand new 5-year contract. You know what I'm saying? Like all this other shit that you could have done post screw job. Like we all saw what happened. How do we rectify this? Because the fans are in an uproar right now, right? Don't worry about the fans. The fans are going to be the fans. Just like, and again, you can put the sports spin on this. The Cowboys can get blown out every week for the rest of the season, which might actually happen.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
It might happen. But I'm not going to sit there and be like, man, you know what? I'm a Jets fan now. Fuck it. Yeah, like
no, you're either a fan or you're not a fan. You just stick with it.
I'm not going anywhere. I got to deal with it. And you know what? It's so funny because there is a current thing happening right now in Dallas Cowboys world where everybody wants Jerry Jones, the owner, the Vince McMahon of the Cowboys, to step aside and let somebody else do his job better than he can do it right now. And he's a fucking billionaire, bro. He's not going to be like, you know what? These fans, they're right. They're right. We got to get out of here.
Oh, and they're all going to stop watching. They're all going to stop supporting the Cowboys.
There's going to be no more tickets. Oh, my God. No, you know what? There's going to be more tickets sold. There's going to be more merchandise sold. So what I'm saying is, to put it all together, LaGreca, I love you. You're my mentor. You are my guy. But please don't try to insert yourself again because you're pissed off about a storyline. Like, you can disagree. You can give your opinions. You can say, this is how I would write it, right? You could do all that. But don't try to start this movement again because we're not doing this all over again. It's annoying. It's annoying. I'm not saying like, look, I'll listen to Dave. Like he's my guy, right? But like at the end of the day, I'm also like, come on, man. Like, let's not do this shit again. Like, let's not
just say how you feel.
Color the robe here. You know what I mean? Like,
this is a safe place, Dave. You tell us how you really feel about Dave LaGreca, okay? Because,
I love him.
You know, no one's going to listen. Look, we got our folks at Ad Free Shows listening, and hey, shout out to them. Thank you so much again for tuning in early and ad free. Really appreciated that.
All the wonderful comments and stuff like that, welcoming us with open arms. I love it.
That was cool.
Yeah.
It's a good crew over there. Coach Rosie made a comment for us, really appreciated that. Man, Sorensen always,
Little Jimmy.
Yep.
Good man.
But yeah, man, and then everybody else watching this, we really appreciate. But look, my final thoughts on Dave LaGreca. You said earlier about him looking like Sally Jesse Raphael and all that stuff.
You got it.
What's up? What's wrong?
You know what? There's things I could do around these parts, but go ahead.
What?
No, don't worry about it. Go ahead.
Are you threatening me?
Don't worry about it.
Regardless.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
Putting everything aside, all of your, issues with Dave LaGreca. Are you beeping me out?
Oh, I'm censoring you.
You're censoring me. Dear Lord.
Keep going. Sorry.
So, no, all kidding aside, wrestling has now recently been using WWE specifically has been using social media, I think, in a really interesting way. As it relates to this Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes situation. And it started with having the fan cam, so to speak, of catching their fight. And then the fact that, we saw where Wade Barrett tried to talk about it and he was quickly, wanted to hear it. Kevin Owens shows up, tries to get on the mic and talk about it, cut his mic. Now Kevin Owens has posted on social media that they have until Friday, until SmackDown, to air this video that he sent in for them to play on Raw that they didn't. So now if they don't play it on SmackDown, he'll just post it online. My guess is that he's going to end up posting online. They're not going to play it on SmackDown.
I have a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Just because it just popped in my head. What if they play the video, but they dock it and they dub it and they edit it in a way where
they cut it up?
He's going to come back like, that's not what I said. Yeah. Like, what are you trying to I think that would be genius of like an editing team to put together like a dummy reel almost of that said video or whatever he supposedly composed.
That would be interesting. Yeah, that could be fun. I just think it's really cool the way that they're utilizing social media to continue this story. I also love the fact, I was having this conversation with my 7-year-old because he is a diehard Cody fan. He's really started coming around to Roman Reigns like after, it was really tough for him because, he couldn't, he's been hurt before by Roman, so he couldn't trust. But he's, really, and my favorite thing with him is where he's just like, and maybe I mentioned this once before, where he was just like, with Solo Sikoa's music, like he had me listening to like wrestling music and stuff in the car. I really had to twist my arm, and he's listening to this stuff. Solo Sikoa comes on. He goes, "Oh, I hate Solo Sikoa. This is a really good song." It's like, yeah, I was like, you know what's going on, but so he is.
He doesn't acknowledge Solo as the tribal chief.
Not at all. But he looks at what happened with Kevin Owens and Cody, and at first was very much like, Kevin Owens is in the wrong. And we had a little conversation about it. I said, well, look, you got to look at it from Kevin Owens' standpoint. And I start going back over all the things the Bloodline did and all the times that Kevin Owens had Cody's back and, and all this stuff. And he really looked at that and started to see the shades of gray in this. And I think if you can have a 7-year-old understanding it, then you can probably get a wrestling fan to understand it and get involved,
What's great about that is that this story in particular, what they're building with Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes, and everybody seems to know this already just because of what we've seen Cody do as this Cody Rhodes, not Stardust, not like, anybody, like this version of Cody that started with AEW. We have seen him work a mic as a heel.
Yeah.
And we have liked it.
He's one of the best today.
And what I'm thinking is now, this is a great way for them to like just kind of sort of make him like a tweener. Like a Stone Cold Steve Austin of sorts, where you like him because he's cool and he's, does the music and the thing and the blah, 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 right? But then you don't because he's actually a prick, and your son, who's 7, is being taught these lessons early. So in the event of an ultimate heel turn, your son still might actually like Cody Rhodes, but not like what he does. Well, that is fantastic of what WWE can do with this guy.
And I think also, that's a great point. And I think that it also is a kind of a life lesson, right? Like in the beginning, you have good guys, bad guys, but wrestling has become such it's so different than it used to be because the curtain's been pulled back so much that I think its success does rely so much on the story. And I love the story of the fact that, like, you can say Kevin Owens is the bad guy. I don't want to see Kevin Owens just run in and do bad guy things, and now he comes out of the bad guy locker room and crap like that. I like the fact that you can look at Kevin Owens and say, oh, Kevin Owens is a heel now. But is he? Why is he? He's not wrong. What did he do? You know what I mean? What did he do wrong?
It's like I can't believe he just basically mugged Cody Rhodes at his bus, but I kind of want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah.
As to why he did that. So it's
what did Cody say to him that made him punch him?
Storytelling 101, man. It really is. And
but they
always hit home runs with this kind of stuff.
I watched Bad Blood with my my kids, and I got to tell you, between my son and my daughter, my youngest, he didn't like. He just stands up on the couch and poses like Randy Orton and then leaves. But with watching it with my kids is so much more enjoyable than sitting in a press box watching it with a bunch of people there. And I say that not to hammer down on our poor, there are some people in that box that we love, some people that are awesome.
Wait, so while you were watching it with your son and daughter, didn't you want to take a selfie video of your reaction and post it and get all these thousands of likes and people
so much so that I even just turned off the TV and was just like, guys, I'm setting up the camera just on us. Let's just make some reactions, because it doesn't even matter what's actually going on over there.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Zero.
we green screened it and made it look like there was crowd behind us. And listen, I'm of the belief of, if you can get somebody to pay you to do that because you can get these morons to tune in and actually give you money to watch you go, oh my God, whoa, wow. Then you know what? Hey, my issue is not with the people doing the videos.
Good job.
That's what I'm saying. Because I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and you kind of gave like a real firm, F you to the people doing that. And I just want to say, I really thought about that, because at first I was just like, I had this resentment towards the people who were doing that. And then I looked and I said, you know what? That person is not responsible for the 100, comments and the, 5,000 likes on a video of them going, wow. Right? Also, I look at that and I say, that's the
who you are and what you look like.
Well, yeah, but my issue is with these weird, horny fans sitting in their mom's basement with their neck beards, and they're just, like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I got to watch them. Look how they reacted to this. They're so excited. Let me pause it and just look at that picture for a while and go, take care of business. Like, I just look at it and I think they're the problem in our society, not the people who are, like, people look at like OnlyFans, right? I got no heat with the people on OnlyFans. If I got heat with people, it's the people that keep OnlyFans in business.
Right.
You're the weird, creepy ass subscribers. Not, you know what I mean? Like, not the that reminds me, I need to renew my OnlyFans. But not, so look.
You found my account, huh?
Oh man, I'm gonna create an OnlyFans where I pretty much just sit and I just go, "Why are you here? Why are you here?" And then every 15 minutes I show my foot. What's that?
And no. And they just, why are you here? Guess what? Jesus is watching you.
Oh man,
really hammer home that you're going to hell.
Yeah,
good luck.
Hammer home while they hammer home. Listen, where are we headed?
Fucking Christ.
Yeah. So, first day with the new Roadcaster.
I've had some experience. Okay,
but no. I forget what I was saying. Oh yeah, these morons. Anyway, so the thing is, like, what are you doing? Why are you liking that shit? Support people like Dave LaGreca. Support people like us. Don't support the people who are not doing anything. As soon as they start doing something,
they're doing something.
Wow. As soon as these people start actually doing something worth supporting, I'm not just talking wrestling, I'm talking across the board in entertainment in general. I saw some picture of like all this stuff. Our good buddy Frank from GPW Productions posted something. It was like from an article. What?
Lion. I said Lions fan. He had his last.
Oh, listen, he has his issues,
No. He made sure he was paying attention to me the whole time.
Oh, of course. Yeah. But look, he posted something about like, man, I must be losing touch with like what's going on in the world, because I only recognize 2 of the people on this like big list of like, it was all these people got together for a photo shoot of all of these like TikTok influencers and stuff. And I'm like, buddy, I don't even know a single person by face, by name, by any of these people. I am completely out of touch with it and couldn't be prouder. And the reality is these TikTok people, like, there are people on TikTok or on Instagram or something that are hilarious. And I go, you know what? You should get every single like. You've created videos. They're funny. They're hilarious. There is nothing I hate more, and we'll bring this back to wrestling. I've been seeing these people who have all of these followers, all this stuff. They have a camera on them like this, like exactly as I am right now. imagine that I'm sitting and watching Raw off to the side here and go,
you're gonna adjust me, bro. I know.
oh man, is that okay? He's coming to the ring now. Okay. Ooh, okay. Stepped between the ropes. Didn't go over the ropes, between the ropes today. Okay. And that's it. And there's just people like, hey, thanks for the.
How do you get away with that? I've asked a couple of those guys because a couple of them are cool, but
I'm not saying they're not cool. Good for them. You could get paid to watch. They are getting paid. They are making a living doing what I have done my entire life. Watched wrestling. Right. They are making money from people watching them watch wrestling. And ask any of my friends that I've ever watched wrestling with. No one's giving a shit about my opinion. But these people.
Dude, you got some of my favorite ones of those of note are when like there was as the Wyatt Six was trying to make their way, by dropping all these clues and shit. Mm-hmm. Like if a new vignette happened, they'd watch the vignette would be playing and they would react like, what is this? What does this mean? Wait.
Oh damn.
Oh my God.
Oh, did you see that?
Yeah. What? Oh my God, it's him! And then they would do a lap around their fucking little house. Dude, it blew my mind. I was like, so basically, and my stepmom has made, I squeaked on that one. My stepmother has,
congratulations on puberty.
Yeah, listen, it happens. OnlyFans is next. But my stepmom has made references to the fact that like, she's like, if you had a camera on you watching the Cowboys game, you would be the most entertaining, vulgar piece of shit, but people would pay you to watch that. And I start thinking to myself, like, you know what? You're probably right. Because the things that come out of my face during a Cowboys game,
I'm challenging you.
There were literally things that I've said that if anybody else heard them, I'd be in jail.
I'm challenging you.
Sure.
The next Cowboys game.
It's the 49ers, man. I don't know if I can do it.
Put a camera on you. And I want you to grab some of those clips. If you say something that is jail worthy, maybe that's where sometimes it's even funnier to beep it, right? Sometimes it's even funnier.
That's
You're going to drop an F-bomb or something, man, beep it, right? Like, it's always more amusing when you see a guy where it's like, son of a, and right. You can't hear what it is. So, dude, do it and put some clips up on TikTok or on Instagram or on something like that. I guarantee you they're going to be bigger than any of, man flips out over Cowboys game, whatever it is.
Nah, man, trust me. I thought about it. It's a lot of work. I'm just trying to enjoy the game, and I can't enjoy the game.
And that's the thing where you say it's a lot of work. And that's where I say I don't have issues with the people who are doing it.
Because it's work.
Because it's work. My issue is with the people who are making that a viable option for how to make a living.
Consumption, yeah.
And the people who just hold up a phone to themselves and go, wow, oh my God, wow, and then post. Try harder. Be better. Be like LaGreca.
There it is. And
because as much as we gave him a hard time in the beginning about some of his takes on things and his weird robe and his lady glasses and whatever the case might be, Dave LaGreca works his ass off. Dave LaGreca is incredibly good at what he does. So whenever you post the clips of me shitting on LaGreca, make sure that you tag this at the bottom there or, add it on there because sometimes I actually have a lot of respect for Dave LaGreca.
AI chooses, not me.
I have a lot of respect for Dave LaGreca. He's a huge fan of mine. Yeah. So, that is what it is. Moving on. Bryan Danielson, speaking of moving on, Bryan Danielson has moved on from his full-time in-ring career. And I got to tell you, Dave, tell me how you feel about this. I don't care. The emotion they're trying to get from you was as if this was a retirement. But what kind of a retirement Like, what am I supposed to feel? I'm just like, okay, cool. He's gonna spend some more time with his family, and he'll only wrestle every so often. Like, who? Like,
That's not news.
give a shit. Yeah,
So, like,
Roman Reigns wrestled 3 times this year, if that.
That's beneficial. That's beneficial for somebody in his health, right? Meaning he's got some issues. We all know this. They're documented. It's not like it's breaking news. I do feel like this was the shortest title reign that I've ever really come across, where they tried to make you give a shit, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Nah, we're done." You know, like, I for him, and there was a lot of. There was one guy who posted something like, "Shout out to the GOAT," calling him the greatest of all time, and it's like, these AEW fans, and I guess I have to single them out because sometimes it only comes from them, where it's either they're calling Bryan Danielson the greatest wrestler of all time, or Tony Schiavone, who I've respected for years, has come out and said that Jon Moxley is this age's Stone Cold Steve Austin. What? What are we talking about? Like, I understand you're boosting your product. You want people to tune in. But the Moxley Austin comparison is freaking asinine.
No, it's not even
asinine. You're not in the same stratosphere. Not even close. No. And this is not to take away
by any metric.
None. But again, Moxley is Moxley. Like,
and he's great. Moxley's great.
He's great. He's absolutely great.
I think they do a disservice. I think that a guy like a Tony Schiavone is actually doing a disservice to Jon Moxley by making a claim like that.
Yeah, it's putting too much pressure on him.
Yeah.
Let him be himself. Let him do his little, whatever the fuck he does, right? Let him do all that shit. But don't call, like, he's not drinking beers. He's not stunning the boss. He's not creating worldwide buzz. He's creating buzz within the AEW community. Good for you. That's what you're paid to do.
Yeah. But you can't, just to even think, that's insane. To even think.
It's actually disrespectful to Steve Austin.
It's just, I don't know. I like Tony, but it's a weird statement.
Often replicated,
Hey, part of the Ad Free Show's family over here, Tony Schiavone. But my question is, Tony, what happened when you made that statement? Because it,
were you on the ganj? Were you a little deuced? Like, were you like, because that, you know what? That would make more sense. If you said, like, look, I'm high as a kite right now.
Look, none of these guys, no one in AEW will ever, I shouldn't say ever, because I'm a big believer in the don't say, oh, it can never, whatever. Like, wrestling, look, WWE in 2019 was atrocious and AEW was fantastic. And then switch. AEW is now horrible. Wrestlers, incredible athletes. They can do things in the ring that I couldn't have even dreamt up to do with an action figure, let alone done myself. I'm not knocking them. But the story, save for a couple pieces of stories are, they're either non-existent or you can't comprehend them, or they're just all over the place. And everybody knows that. And the people are there and they claim that that's not the case. They're full of crap. But look.
But that also ties into what you're talking about, as like Danielson drops the title and now he's going to be like this part-timer. Mm-hmm. Like, you didn't have to drop the title to be a part-timer, guys.
No.
You don't have to defend the championship every Wednesday.
We don't know where they're headed with that. We don't know with Moxley starting this new version of this new group and a lot of people are like, oh man, Shane McMahon's going to be behind it. And there's breadcrumbs that make sense of who the people were and how Shane had that Raw Underground thing and like some of the same people. And listen, that's kind of cool. And if Shane McMahon was there, people would pay attention once. And they would pay attention one time and hit it out of the park, and they'll come back. And that's a big issue with, look, Mercedes Moné. I'm not going to say she is a waste of money. I'm going to say they are wasting their money on what they're doing with her. It doesn't work. She's got go away heat. And you have some guys will sit there and you go, oh no, she's this is the kind of heat you want. No, it's not. I can tell you as a fan, I can tell you as having sat in the audience there at Grand Slam, No, this was not. This was not. Man, we can't wait for someone to come out and kick her ass. This was stop. Just we don't. This isn't
It's kind of how I
entertaining.
feel about. It's kind of how I feel about like Current and Jericho. Like this
Yeah,
is like, dude,
it's not
go away,
working.
go
It's not.
go
Yeah,
far. Like it's not.
and that's
Yeah,
okay. Sometimes it doesn't work, but you can't just push through.
but
You have to.
problem, well, that's the problem. Sometimes AEW feels like that go away heat should lead into bigger things. So let's do more of it.
Yeah.
And that's where people are starting to realize, hey, look, no. What we meant was, Tony, is that we don't want to see this
Right.
girl out here, or we don't want to see this championship defended every Wednesday night. We don't need to see this kind of shit. But you're just like, I'm pissing them off. This is what we wanted, right? Like, no. It's way different because guess what? I'm not pissed off. I am tuning out.
Yeah.
And that's my solve. I just don't want.
And you and 300,000 other people are tuning out too. I mean, it's atrocious, the numbers. And I just at some point they got to turn around and say like, okay, things have really not gone right. And I think that they're maybe trying that with the Moxley storyline and everything. It looks like he's kind of like, this isn't your AEW, this is like, maybe, I don't know. But again, I think I've said this before, the goodwill. I don't think anybody likes the Bucks anymore on a personal level. Now, do they have a right to? They don't know them personally, so they shouldn't have an issue with them personally. But I think people don't like the Bucks behind the scenes. And I think that in the ring, they enjoy watching them, but I feel like there's this like, whether it's warranted or not, there's this feeling that the Bucks are a problem for the company. They're only pushing their friends. They pushed out CM Punk, and then there's other people who are like, oh, F CM Punk. It's like, dude, if you were Team Bucks, like then you were responsible in killing AEW because CM Punk was doing just fine.
I used to be very Team Bucks. I used to be, right? But I'm not anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? I'm out on the Bucks.
They have always been super cool to me anytime I've interacted with them.
I've never personally.
So I have no gone out of their way to be very, very friendly, very nice when they didn't have to. I've always appreciated that. I've been on record in the past. I think they have the worst super kick in the business because Shawn Michaels has the best. They have the worst.
Let's turn into a party, though.
I'm just saying it's the worst super kick in the business because they have to do it so many times before a guy even falls down. Then they both have to do it at the same time. And then the guy finally falls down. But even then, after 45 super kicks from two different people, they still kick out.
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst super kick in the business. Shawn Michaels hits you with it. Done. That's it.
Lights out.
So, it's... Anyway, AEW, man, I really wish that they would step it up and get back to what they're doing. I have a big issue with Ring of Honor. In the sense that the Ring of Honor titles are on AEW. AEW titles are on Ring of Honor. They had an opportunity to do what WWE has tried to do for decades now with a brand split. They had the opportunity to create their own competition within their own world. They could have had Ring of Honor. Instead, they've had, Collision and Rampage and Saturday Smash, whatever the hell, right? Like they've got all these different things. They should have had Ring of Honor. They should have had Ring of Honor streaming right off the bat because it's a separate company. And I know this because I had conversations with AEW about this. They should have had it streaming separately. The problem was when you have Tony Khan overseeing and micromanaging everything, he can't separate enough. He can't delegate. But Ring of Honor should have been its own thing. Should have been its own weekly storylines with its own champions. And then when you have something like a Wrestle Dream, like with all due respect, like no one gives a shit about New Japan except for a super small amount of people. I'm not questioning the talent. I'm not questioning the legacy. I'm not questioning the quality of New Japan. I'm saying US fans don't care. You have a few of them that do. And you know who they are. They're the ones who bought the pay-per-views. But Forbidden Door, Wrestle Dream, whatever the hell, I don't even know if Wrestle Dream's even, it's not even a New Japan thing. Like I don't know. It's so convoluted. all of this a Forbidden Door, it should be Ring of Honor and AEW. And Ring of Honor should have been built the way it was. They should have dug back into former Ring of Honor talent, because, man, there's a ton of them that are still out on the indies. They should have taken Danny Moff. Danny effing Moff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. You have guys like Danny Moff or Senta Slaughter or something like that. Why are they not on there? You know, make Ring of Honor something. And if only there were people who were familiar with a guy like Danny Moff that worked backstage at AEW.
It's a shame
that recommend.
I know there's nobody back there who has a clue who he is. So it's kind of weird.
It's a shame.
No, you could have taken Ring of Honor and you could have made it your own NXT if you wanted to.
Absolutely. I used to say, I remember one time I said this to Mike Weber, former COO of Fight TV. He and I were sitting in the stands watching Ring of Honor in not really its best time. This was after Cody and the Bucks left. And we're sitting there, we're at the event. It's the one where I just posted a picture. And by the way, condolences to the friends and family and coworkers of Joe Koff, former COO of Ring of Honor, Sinclair Broadcasting. It was the show that I posted the picture of me and Joe Koff where I interviewed him. I to take a minute just to say with Joe Koff, I don't know if you ever had the opportunity to meet him or talk to him. I had the opportunity to interview him then, do some stuff backstage, but then also had other, my brother and I had other business meetings and stuff with him unrelated to, to interviews and fight and stuff like that. The nicest guy, the most honest guy. And I can tell you from the conversations we had with him, he legitimately cared about Ring of Honor, legitimately cared about the talent at Ring of Honor. He cared about what was going to happen to that company. And it's I don't know exactly how he passed or what the case was, but very upsetting, really nice guy. And so just wanted to kind of, put those condolences out there. But we were at that event, and Weber and I were talking, and I said, I was like, I always found Ring of Honor to kind of be the Saturday Night Live of pro wrestling, in the sense that you would have these lulls, but then you'd also have these times where you had Joe and AJ and Chris Daniels and these people like that where you're just like, oh my God, these are, that's kind of the original, right? And then they went on to bigger things, whether it's TNA or WWE. And it's like, okay, whatever it is. And then you come back and you go, all right, now it's the next tier, right? Kind of like how you had Saturday Night Live. You had your Mike Myers and Dana Carvey. They left. Then you had your Will Ferrell and right, you know what I mean? And it's then there was Andy Samberg. Then you always had a little bit of a lull, but then that next person who was going to end up becoming a breakout star. And I feel like that's what Ring of Honor continued to do. And then eventually Ring of Honor had, guys like the Bucks, and I know they were other places as well, but I'm just saying, like, I felt that was their place in the business. It's where in 2002, when I was running a wrestling company, it's exactly what I had wanted us to become. Unfortunately, there was another wrestling company with more money called Ring of Honor that started around the same time and was able to bring in all the biggest stars and all of that stuff. But that was the dream, was never to one day we're going to compete with WWE. No, the dream was one day we are going to be the stamp of approval of, hey, this is a talent. Oh, he was Ring of Honor champion. All right, that dude needs to move on up to WWE or NXT or something like that, right? That was the idea. That's what they should be, but instead, they're WWF jacked, WWF metal, right? Wow. They're Velocity. That's what they are.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. It just seems like we have, where I say we, AEW has this massive roster, and a couple of them get lost in the shuffle. So it's like, oh, well, just, I don't know, throw them on Ring of Honor. Yeah. Wait, what? Like, no, Ring of Honor should be Ring of Honor. Like you
have Dustin Rhodes on Ring of Honor. killing it on Ring of Honor because that's all Dustin knows how to
Yeah.
do, right?
Right. I agree.
But wouldn't it have been so much more if you announced some sort of like a trade, like a trade had happened, and you'd built Ring of Honor, you'd continued its legacy of what it was, and you maybe even allowed some stories to continue on from the previous Ring of Honor, since, oh, by the way, you have the library.
Sure do.
And now AEW's running and Ring of Honor's running. And now all of a sudden, there's a major announcement. A trade has been made between rosters, and Dustin Rhodes is now a part of Ring of Honor. If you had kept the DNA of Ring of Honor, imagine the Ring of Honor where Cody and the Bucks were, right? Imagine that Ring of Honor, and Dustin Rhodes is now a part of it. So what I'm saying is
it's not must be television.
Right. What I'm saying is they've killed the brand of Ring of Honor. I shouldn't say killed. They've damaged the brand of Ring of Honor because it can come back. It absolutely can come back.
I was going to say, gun to your head, you think it can make a resurgence if done correctly?
100% can make a resurgence. Anything can make a resurgence. Look at WWE. Look at where it was in 2019 and look at where it is now. And I just think, look at where it was for all of the tens and teens or whatever. You know,
right.
It was not great. I think AEW can make a resurgence, but I think they need to stop putting it out to the quote unquote sickos, you know, and I get the reference and everything like that, but they need to stop their focus on that. They need to start their focus on being a bigger company. And hey, maybe Ring of Honor is for the quote unquote sickos, because Ring of Honor that's what it was. That was indie wrestling. That did shit with New Japan. That was what that was. And AEW should be pop music. AEW should be the thing on par with a WWE in that vein. But
and you know what causes all this, as we put a bow on this entire show, because I know we're probably going over on time, but like what I will say is this, my final thought about AEW, what they're doing right now, Ring of Honor, shit like that, I bring it all back to and if you're not a sports fan, I'm sorry if this is either bores you or you completely don't know what you're talking about or don't know what I'm talking about.
They all stopped listening when you talked about the Cowboys before.
Well, that's what I'm bringing this back to, because look, Jerry Jones is the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. He owns the franchise, much like Tony Khan owns AEW, right? Jerry Jones is not a football guy. He loves the sport of football. He knows the business of the sport of football. He knows how to brand the sport of the Dallas Cowboys and the brand that they are. But when it comes to decision making on personnel, on who's playing the games, right? He doesn't know shit. And the problem is he's still the GM. He's still the guy making all the decisions. Tony Khan, if he had any sense of how can I fix this, rather than having everybody around him saying, great job, Tony, everything's working, we love everything you're doing, he needs to hand it off to a wrestling guy.
Yeah.
Right now, Tony Khan is a rich mark for his own company. And again, being a mark for your brand and company is a good thing, but make the decisions to employ people that will put better things in place, like a Ring of Honor. Can you imagine if all of a sudden, for whatever reason, they gave the Ring of Honor book to a Jeff Jarrett, to somebody that
amazing. That would be amazing.
Somebody that knows this business and through, from the booking standpoint to the storytelling standpoint to the what makes sense to the branding. Step back for a second, Tony. Swallow your pride and give the creative stuff. Leave it up to the guys that have paved this way for you to even fucking exist. That's my bottom line when it comes to Ring of Honor and AEW. Step aside, Jerry Jones. Step aside. You know, like let somebody else take over, because look what happened with Vince. Vince realized, or he didn't realize, the people around him realized that, all right, this guy is one bad move away from the loony bin at this point. How can we change this? Oh, let's give the creative control to a guy who's been around forever, like Triple H. And oh, by the way, NXT, let's give it to somebody else that knows a little something about developing a professional wrestler.
I don't want to. I know we're wrapping up here, but I don't want to. I just, because people might question. So Shawn Michaels got NXT because Triple H had his medical issue, right?
Sure, but whatever, it worked out.
And Vince McMahon left because he was caught misappropriating funds to women he had been. I'm just saying. So
but
the lesson here is start digging on Tony Khan and Jerry Jones, right? Find some women they've paid off, and then we can get what we is now. Is that not the lesson?
Nope, not the lesson.
I missed it. I missed the lesson.
Yeah, you did miss it. No, but what I'm saying is put the right people in place. WWE is as hot as it is right now because the right people are in place. That's it. Like, you don't see Nick Khan or, these, monster wigs that Dana White, guys like that are within UFC or Endeavor or whatever. They're not stepping on anybody's toes because they put the people in place to make it succeed, right? Because they know at the end of the day, they're going to be millionaires, billionaires over and over again because they put the right people in place. That's called an employee, right? You don't have to be, like, I understand you want to be your own boss. That's great, man. You are. But like, let's give the creative stuff to the people who might know a thing or two about how to get the fans in the stands and keep them there. Because right now, everybody around him, his entire supporting cast right now, and this goes for every executive, every referee, every person in the back taking pictures, whoever you are, you're part of the problem. Because you say, yes, okay, yes, no, that idea, that's great, let's do it. Okay, fine. You are part of the problem. Just disagree once, see what happens. What's the worst that can happen if you say, you know what, Tony, that story, while it will plays out in your crazy mind really well, I don't know if it's going to resonate with today's fan. So why don't we try this? Combat, have a creative meeting. How do you think these creative meetings go? They all just sit, he's at the head of the table, no pun. He's at the head of the table, right? And he's just like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What do you guys think? There's not a soul in the creative meeting that says, I disagree. There's not one. There's not one. And if they do, it's in their mind, or they tell their buddy. You're like, oh, man. Because I've been told, truth be told, I've been told that there's plenty of things that people are just like, oh, what? And I know that for a fact. And I'm not trying to break any news. I'm just saying there are people back there that are just like, oh my God, but they have to do what they got to do because that's what signs the paychecks at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, start your own promotion, do your own thing, just get out of Dodge because right now it's a sinking ship. And I'm not saying that they're going to go out of business. They just signed their massive deal, the TV deals and all this other shit. Bravo, because that takes a good businessman to get that done. But let's make that new product on that new network, on that new streaming service or whatever you're doing. Let's make that product worth watching.
And to all those people, I agree. I challenge all of you to step up, disagree with Tony Khan. And when he inevitably fires you, Tony, I'll tell you whatever it is you want to hear. Just pad the lope.
Pad that lope. Anyway, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a very interesting, it's funny, pull back that curtain. We go into some of these shows like, I don't know, man. There's not a lot going on. Not a lot going on. Guess what? This show turned out to be an absolute banger.
Banger. Get your shirt right now at prowrestlingtees.com/MyFandom. That's not an ad. That's not a. Nope. That is not an ad.
Because we are ad free.
Yeah,
first.
That is a plug. Right? Plug There's a difference. This is not plug free shows.
No, you're right. So for everybody listening early on ad free shows, we thank you. Be sure to rate the show on iTunes, Spotify, however you get it when it's available. Helps us grow. Really do appreciate all the kind words from the ad free show family. We will continue to grow this bad boy. We got some serious heaters on the way. We don't want to disclose until it's locked, sealed, and delivered.
Yeah, but
we got interviews lined up, boy. And
I will say this: next week, there's going to be, we got a guest coming on, and we're just going to leave it at that.
Some would say all you got to do is say his name, and he'll just be there.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
For Dave Sturchill and Josh Sherdoff, this has been another episode of the Wrestling Hour. Stay healthy out there. Be safe. God bless all y'all, and we'll see you next time.
We love you, Dave LaGreca.